to Complexity Made Simple. My name is Paul Allen, and before we get into today's video, just a reminder, some great news: the design of experiments for 21st century engineers, the Minitab version, has just been released. I know for those of you unfortunate enough to have selected Minitab, you have a great deal of difficulty in understanding this software, so we've created this special version of this text with the Minitab screenshots. The link to lulu.com where you can buy this book is in the description below. And of course, you also have the option of purchasing Drink Tea and Read the Paper, which is the perfect book to go with your Green Belt or Six Sigma Black Belt training. The link to lulu.com for that book is also in the description below. And of course, the other thing that we'd really love you to do, please go to buymeacoffee.com and make a small donation. All of these things, the purchase of the books and the donations, they help keep the channel moving. I'm really grateful to all of those people who are currently donating. Many thanks for your support and your help. And now let's get on with today's video. Welcome to Complexity Made Simple. My name is Paul Allen, and the subject of today's video newsletter, well, we're going to talk about the companies who say, what's next? What's next after Lean? What's next after Six Sigma? We've done Lean, we've done Six Sigma, we've done 5S. And so we're going to address that. And here's the question: have you ever done Lean? Have you ever done with Six Sigma? Are you ever done with 5S? And the answer actually is no. So let's address these people. They're all saying, we've done Lean. What's next? And I guess my answer would be, do it better. So let's start with Lean. What's next? We've done Lean. Well, that would be a surprise to Toyota, because Toyota have been trying to do Lean for 70 years, and they are still trying to do Lean. Because you see, the target in Lean, the idea of removing all the waste from your supply chain, removing all the waste from your supply chain is literally an impossible task. So it's going to take you 200 years, 300 years if your company lasts that long. Here's what Lean is about, don't forget. Oops. You have the total time it takes you for items to pass through your factory. Occasionally, you touch those items and you add something that's valuable from the customer's point of view. You transform the material in some way and you start to add value. But most of the time, and this is what Lean is about, most of the time inside your factory, most of the time is waste, and you are simply trying to compress the total flow time. I think in the past I've used the example, I used to work for Rexel making staplers, and we calculated that the total time to make one stapler was simply 10 minutes. So these sections here where we added value was just 10 minutes, but the steel and the plastic remained in the factory for 1 month. So this was 1 month long, this was 10 minutes wide. What is Lean about? Lean is about making that total flow time to be 10 minutes. That's what Lean is about. So what do you mean, what's next? I've done Lean. You will never do Lean. So the first thing to say is, inside your factory, do Lean again. Do lean again, cut the batch size again, get rid of the setup time again, do more setup time reduction, get rid of the batches. And then you say, I've gone as far as I can. Wait until you're going to buy a new piece of equipment. Then buy a piece of equipment where you can set it up even faster. Better still, buy two pieces of equipment. So one can run product A, one can run product B. And you don't keep setting it up. It's a never-ending process. So inside your factory, it's never-ending. You've never done lean. But even if you think you've done pretty well inside your factory, well, here's the next thing you do, and here's what Toyota did and are doing. They moved down the supply chain because, of course, there's reasons why they have waste here, which is because their suppliers are saying, oh, we can't do that. We have to deliver a box of 20,000 to you. So what did Toyota do? They moved into that company and they helped them to reduce the box size to 10,000, 5,000, 2,000, 1,000. They helped them to deliver more often. So what you start to do is you start to work on your supply chain and you make company after company after company, and you go as deep into the supply chain as you reasonably can, and you start to make your supply chain lean. And that is what you do. So if you want to know, well, what do we do next? Well, the purchasing department has to kick in and they have to start being lean. They have to stop buying on price and they have to start buying on batch size. How often can it be delivered, etc. How do I buy parts that help me to compress this time even more? And you work on your supply chain, because there's one important thing every business should know. You think you, as the end business here, you're competing with other businesses. You think that, Toyota is competing with other car companies like Ford and General Motors, etc. But that's not true. It's Ford's supply chain that competes with Toyota's supply chain, that competes with General Motors' supply chain. And it is the supply chain that compete with one another. It isn't the companies. After all, how much of a car do Ford make? How much of a car do Toyota make? Very little. All they really do is screw the bits together. So if all the people that made the parts are rubbish at this, then clearly the cars are going to be terrible. So, lean, what's next? If you think you've got this down to a tiny little flow time, and you would be very rare that you'd done that, go and work on your supply chain. Go and work on your suppliers that are driving waste in your company. That would be the next thing. You've never done lean. Toyota have been doing it for 70 years. They'll be doing it for another 70 years. They'll still be working on waste. They'll be getting better and better, smaller incremental improvements, but they will be making incremental improvements. You've never done lean. What else do people say we've done? Well, the other one they say, of course, we've done Six Sigma. What's next? Okay, let's talk about whether you've done Six Sigma or not. The thing about Six Sigma is, and I teach this is my primary thing, I teach people to pick up projects and basically fix a problem. Okay? Lots of the reasons why the projects exist is because every company that I work with has an absolutely terrible new product introduction process. In other words, what we do is we've got the part, we sort of cobble together a manufacturing process. They say, oh, that's good enough. They sort of throw it over the wall, and what they basically do is they throw chaos into the manufacturing process. And eventually the pain gets so great, they revisit it and they try and put it right. And that's normally what a Six Sigma project is. It's putting right the chaos that comes out of new product introduction. And I always say to my groups when I'm teaching them, I shouldn't be here. I shouldn't be here. This course should not exist. We've known for a long time how to do this properly. And if you did it properly, Six Sigma projects pretty much wouldn't exist. So there is potential to say, you've done Six Sigma, okay. But at its heart, what is Six Sigma asking you to do? Well, what it's asking you to do is to remove variability. Make your process more consistent, more repetitive. So even if what you haven't got is too much pain on the shop floor, so let's say you've got processes that are all performing, let's say like that, as a capability, a CPK. So you're not producing any defects here, everything's inside the tolerance, not too bad. But even so, the quality of your finished product is defined by that variability. The less variability you have, and by the way, if you want to see this in reality, look up the Batavia gearbox plant, Ford Batavia, on the internet. If you look at the video, you will see that what Ford learned was the tighter that distribution, the better the customer liked the product. And Ford were good enough and brave enough to put that information on YouTube. So if you look up Ford Batavia gearbox plant, you should find a video that will explain this. So even if you haven't got projects, what you should be doing is constantly working on reducing variability. Now, will you ever eliminate variability? Will you ever get this, for instance, out of a process where all the results are identical? No, of course you won't. And of course, occasionally, even though you worked on an existing product and you've made it really good, maybe a new product, so you've made the distribution really tight on an old product that you make. Maybe a new product comes along, and what happens? You back up and you deteriorate a little bit. So you can't get rid of all the variability in your process, but you have to keep trying to do exactly like this. You know, in the supply chain, what should the purchasing department be doing? They should be identifying suppliers who've got less and less variability. If the supplier can't do it, what do you do next? Well, you take your black belt or your green belt and you send them out into the supply chain. And you get the supply chain to be even better, because of course, if your supplier is pushing variability into your manufacturing site, you can't help but have that variability in your final product. You cannot adjust variability away. So what's next? We've done Lean, we've done Six Sigma. No, you haven't. You haven't by a million miles done either of them. They will go on for years and years and years. Unless you've been doing this for 50 years, you have no right to be saying, we've done Six Sigma, we've done Lean. So my advice to you, guys, get serious. Lean and Six Sigma will make you piles and piles of money if you use them properly. If you take your eye off them for a second, those systems will deteriorate again. So you have to keep moving forward. You have to keep pushing for more and less waste and less variability. You've got to keep pushing for more. You've never done Lean and you've never finished Six Sigma.